How does post work in the operating system boot process? Have you ever wondered what happens when you press the power button on your computer? The first step in the boot process is something called power on self-test, or post. This is a crucial part of how your computer gets ready to run the operating system. Let's break it down in simple terms. When you turn on your computer, the system firmware, which is usually Basic Input-Output System or Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, kicks into action. This firmware is stored in non-volatile memory on the motherboard, meaning it stays intact even when the power is off. The main job of post is to check that all the essential hardware components are working properly. This includes the central processing unit, system memory, storage devices, and important peripherals like the keyboard and monitor. Post runs a series of tests to make sure everything is functioning as it should. If post detects any issues, it stops the boot process right there. You might hear beep codes or see error messages that tell you what went wrong. This is your computer's way of saying something is not right, and it cannot proceed until the problem is fixed. Once post finishes successfully, the firmware moves on to initialize the hardware components. It sets up the system settings needed for booting. This step ensures that everything is in a good state before the operating system starts loading. After the hardware is initialized, the firmware looks for a bootable device. It follows a specific boot order that you can usually set in the firmware settings. The firmware will load the bootloader from the master boot record or the FI system partition. This bootloader is what takes over next to continue the boot process. No matter which operating system you are using, whether it is Windows, Linux, or macOS, post is a universal step. It works independently of the operating system, so it is essential for all systems. However, the interface may differ. Older systems often use Basic Input-Output System, while modern systems are more likely to use Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, which has additional features like Secure Boot. Both Linux and Windows relying on post to check the hardware before their respective bootloaders take control. This means that post is a vital step in ensuring that your computer is ready to load the operating system without any issues. In practical terms, post acts as a gatekeeper. It ensures that the hardware is stable and ready for the operating system to load. Without this initial check, the system could attempt to load the operating system on faulty hardware, which could lead to crashes or data loss. So, the next time you power on your computer, remember that post is working behind the scenes to make sure everything is in order before your operating system takes over. It is an essential part of the boot process that helps ensure a reliable startup for your computer.